to the panel and one after report.
Touch TV News Channel. The best.
The Independent Investigative Panel on the alleged corrupt abuse of power, torture, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment against the Nigerian Correctional Service. Thematic focus on children, young adults, women, persons with disability, and other vulnerable persons in the custody and reaffirmation, rehabilitation, and reintegration of inmate Agenda 10. Friday, 14th March 2025 at Aso Hall, Abuja Intercontinental Hotel. Following the recommendations, some of the inmates produce or products in the custody of correctional service. However, as the ongoing panel discussion, the Dr. Magdalene Ajani, the chairperson of investigative panel, which is also the permanent secretary of Interior, and also Uju Abo, the panel secretary of Independent Investigative Panel on the alleged corruption and other violations against
Fully
Nigerian
implement Section
Correctional
35
Service.
and
Thanks to everyone in this hall. First is to congratulate the Ministry of Interior for this opportunity, which is giving us the opportunity to also look at children in contact with the correctional system in Nigeria. I learned that this report has been presented. It was actually what I came to talk about and to draw the attention of the panel to the findings and the recommendations of the report. But being that as it may, I just want to flag on some of the findings and also things that we have observed as a result of our interaction with the correctional service and of course going to the bus stop, which is where it touches us because UNICEF is for children everywhere, including children in the correctional centers. So talking about this report, the key finding there is that on the average, every year, 26,000 children and young persons, by young persons we mean persons under the age of 21, are in the correctional facilities. And 78% of them, no, sorry, 74% of them are in awaiting trials. So while we are talking about adults, it's also important. But you know, the very good part about children is that their lives can't wait. As you're talking about not having education, not having health, the lives of these children can't wait. They are growing, and if we don't help them, they would have missed out in life and the opportunity that it presents. So we'd like, as the report is being presented to the panel, to please look at the recommendation as to what we think that the correctional centers can do, including having things like diversion. We know that in the Nigerian Correctional Service Act, we have diversion, we have non-custodial, but the implementation has remained a challenge, and that is where UNICEF wants to work with the Ministry of Interior, the Correctional Service, and all the law enforcement agencies to see about how to activate diversion and non-custodial services to work for children and young persons. Also, we would like to talk about the issues about structures. So we have 3 remand homes in Nigeria, and then we have 36 states. So what it means is that because there is no diversion, even for persons that ought not to be in custodial facilities, you find children there for being disobedient to parents. For children for using drugs, these are some of the things that we have found. Personally speaking, I've seen these situations. And so this problem is beyond just one ministry or one agency, it's multi-sectoral. How can we bring and form collaboration with the Ministry of Women Affairs, the the Nigerian Police Force, because that is the gateway for which children come into the correctional service in the first place. If a child is not apprehended, the child possibly will not. And one key thing that I want to flag is the issue about age. So sometimes the gentlemen on this part are helpless because the document that they present is saying that this child is 18, and this child in real sense is not 18. So this is what we want to address in a more coordinated manner, to bring every stakeholder on the table to talk about it, because the future of children is actually the future of Nigeria. The ones we fail to take care of today will tomorrow keep all of us awake. So it is a call of action to the panel to see how we can work just beyond the correctional or Ministry of Interior to get other actors to look at this. And then also looking at this is the issue of the law for establishing the Buster institutions in Nigeria. That law is as old as 1962. That's when it was enacted, and it hasn't undergone any review. So I think that if we have a good law, it will call for a good policy and practices. Because, for instance, in that law, you see a provision saying that if a child is in the Buster, or if anyone is in the Buster, and that person under Section 12, and you're incorrigible, the best way to treat is to send that person to the correctional centers. And for us, this is no more obtainable for children in this age, and we need to do that. So on that note, we pledge the commitment as a United Agency working on promoting the rights of children to work with the Ministry of Interior, all government agencies, to see that indeed children are given a second chance. Children in conflict with the law are given a second chance to be better. Because if adults can turn out to be better citizens, what about children? They have the major part of their life ahead of them, and we can help them to turn it around. Thank you.
Section 34 of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act, as well as the provisions that are found under Section 13 and Section 14 of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act as it relates to this subject matter. It was clearly mentioned that there is a need to ensure that the relevant organizations are in place, relevant processes are put in place with the relevant organization to ensure that the wordings of these provisions are implemented, especially in relation to ensuring there are young offenders facilities in all the states, as well as the federal capital territory. The same also to ensure that the facilities for women are also put in place. The panel specifically asked the Nigerian Correctional Service to send its report in terms of the status of implementation regarding these provisions, including recommendations in terms of wherever there are challenges in implementing these issues. Specifically, the session that speaks to certification of good behavior was also mentioned by the panel, and the panel clearly asked of the correctional service to provide it with clear information regarding whether in fact it has submitted a list of inmates that have demonstrated good behavior that requires to be issued certificate of good behavior by the board that is supervising the correctional service. And also, if that has been the case, how many of these have the board also approved? Also, if this has been the case that the board has approved, therefore the panel is also asking whether in reality those who have been issued with certificate of good behavior have had it complied by the general public. It spoke about the need for reintegration and developing programs that will unlock the second prison to ensure that this is done across the length and breadth of the country. These issues regarding mental health as provided under Section 24 was also highlighted by the panel. And the panel did ask that the correctional service let it know the level of compliance in terms of Section 24, specifically in terms of the functionality of the Mental Health Review Board that was inaugurated by the Correctional Service Controller General, I think, sometime, I think, 25th of August 2023. But we need to know that, and in relation to all of the other issues. Now, to the second thematic issue that the panel looked at today, it was around the issue of reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration. It clearly recalls the key provisions of the Correctional Service Act in relation to Section 10, also including issues about risk and needs assessment, that this was also supposed to be dealt with. The panel, through its chairperson, spoke about some of the innovations that are happening across some of the correctional service centers and the need to provide additional support towards this. She called on the general public to support the correctional service in relation to the provision of equipment as well as provision of personnel. That on that same breath requested that the Nigerian Correctional Service submit to the board the requirement for recruitment for the areas that they require to have staffing in terms of provision of some of those skills training. The panel also commended the work and partnership with the Open University and the Nigerian Correctional Service, and also sought for a more sustainable mechanism in terms of dealing with informal training within the custodial centers. It clearly stated that skills acquisitions and educational programs, including, of course, formal and informal, be made available to all inmates that so desire, especially understanding that Nigeria has a high number of inmates that are not yet being convicted, and many spend a lot of time in those facilities. The recommendations that were made in terms of everyone supporting this process was also highlighted. I will also mention that taking the advantage of the presence of representatives of the National Judicial Council, the panel was very specific in seeking the collaboration of the judiciary with respect to implementation of Section 12, subsection 412 of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act, as well as some provisions under Section 13 and Section 14 of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act 2019. I think with these are some of the recommendations, but the last bit is recognizing that there are so many good things happening, so many things that also need to be enhanced to make sure that it happens. That one of the key green lights is in the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019 is the fact that that law has provided a way of sharing profit that comes out from enterprises within the correctional service, and that this should be maximized so that inmates will have some funds from their work in the correctional service that will contribute to their integration and reformation even while they are released. And that this needs to be focused very much on. And the panel did flag that including private sector and the government can patronize this process so that these enterprises, including the farm centers, can genuinely generate revenues that can be divided in as had been provided by the law, so that reformation and rehabilitation and integration will be at the level that we all will be proud of. Having said that, please, if they need me to ask our their chairperson, Dr. Magdalene Najani, who is also the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Interior, to speak to us and close us. Thank you for your attention.
It's a fact that we need a lot of collaboration to be able to achieve whatever it is we intend to achieve with the correctional service. And we're here over the last 10 days, and we have quite a lot of institutions coming to collaborate with us, render their services even in this investigative panel pro bono. We had private people from the Nigerian Bar Association, we had the Legal Aid Council, we had the Federal Ministry of Justice, we had the Nigerian Police Force, we had the Judiciary, National Judiciary Institute, and the Judiciary Council coming. We had psychologists of Nigeria, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Everybody came in because we have a role to play in the process of delivering efficient service delivery to Nigerians from the Correctional Service and Ministry of Interior by extension. So for us, this is quite encouraging. And then secondly, the Nigerian Correctional Service have also seen this process as something that is going to be for their benefits, and they cooperated so well in dealing with all the issues that were raised. They mobilized staff from all over the country to come in and state their own cases as it is. So for us, I think is the trust that the service, and we all know that as an institution, government can never have enough money to fund its projects. And so seeing it in the correctional service is something that we expect, and we all know that this is a huge challenge. And this funding issue is plaguing the service. with the myriads of things that need to be done, with the fact that the correctional centers, custodial centers, were built well before 1980s. What do we expect? Depreciation of whatever it is that is existing. We don't have enough funds for rehabilitation and maintenance. So we have huge problems in terms of funding, and we are hoping and praying that when this report is made, government will prioritize the Nigerian correctional centers and fund it as much as it can. But don't forget the fact that correctional services have been removed from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. So every member of the government, the state, the local government, need to now take up their roles in providing efficient correctional services to our clients. So definitely, if we all come on to play our roles, then that funding issue will be spread across the structure of government, and we expect that there should be an improvement in funding. Of course, you know that we also need a lot of support from development partners and NGOs who over the years have really been supporting us, but we can never say that we are satisfied. We still need those continuous support to be able to improve the services that we provide.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.